All right. Okay. We are good. We are settled. Everything is in place. I'm going to put this. I'm going to take a little sip of water. Mm, that's fresh. Um, Hi, you guys. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm just going to move this little icon here. This is just my hard drive. This is just my little hard drive here. Um, Hi, you guys. I hope everyone is doing well. Um, Today I wanted today's video to be about um, 3i Atlas. I think she's been the topic of conversation for the past few months. Um, I believe she was discovered back in July of this year. And then since then, scientists and astronomers and things like that, they've been looking into her um, ever since then. But it wasn't until yesterday, I believe, that 3i Atlas reached its perihelion, is what they call it. I'm still not very versed in the world of, scientific terminology and things like that. So please bear with me if I butcher any words or anything like that, any concepts or anything like that. But yes, yesterday, the 3i Atlas comet reached the perihelion yesterday. And so from my understanding, a perihelion is, I guess, a phenomenon where um, a moving object like reaches its closest. A perihelion. See, I'm already butchering it. A perihelion is basically when like an object reaches the sun, like is the closest to the sun, basically. Let me actually Google this so I get it right. Um, Let me see. What is a perihelion? Right, so a perihelion is the point in the orbit of a planet, asteroid, or comet at which it is closest to the sun. Right, so yesterday that was when 3i Atlas, um, reached the perihelion. Now, apparently this was a significant day, or a significant part of the comet's journey, because apparently this was the point and day at which the object was supposed to, I guess, redirect somewhere or like go a different direction. Again, I don't really know. I'm not like too deep into everything. Like I just have a very brief understanding of it. And the purpose of this video, I guess, to bring everyone up to speed is I want to tap into the metaphysical aspect of this whole thing. I want to get into the deeper underlying um, meaning and purpose of this phenomenon, right? There's a lot of conversation scientifically, there's a lot of conversation just amongst peers and things like that on what it is, what's going on, and things like that. And I feel as though I want to use my um, I don't know. I want to use my gifts, I guess, to, get some insight on my own and hopefully share that information with you all. So, yes, I say that to say, blabbering aside, um, it's a really, really, really cool phenomenon. I personally think that, um, I don't know, it's really exciting to look into. I think just the whole idea of there even being quote unquote extraterrestrial life um interacting with us and things like that. Even if it turns out to not be real per se, I still find it to be really interesting and really and worth looking into and talking about and things like that. So, um, yes, I'm done blabbering on that. Secondly, I guess I wanted to, I guess, introduce myself formally. I feel like I've introduced myself a lot of times on this channel, but given that I don't quite yet have a consistent flow in terms of putting out videos on this channel, I want to give you guys the opportunity to um at least understand like my approach and what I do and what my purpose is in making these videos. So my name is Jalen. Um, I recently gave myself the title of Oracle metaphysician and creative strategist. Um, but I'd like to say I don't really attach myself to those titles. I think it's more so to help you all get a better picture of like what I do, what I like to do, what I study, and things like that. So, yes, I'm an Oracle metaphysician, creative strategist, but in totality, I'm a lot of things, to be honest. Most of all, I'm a human being, just like you. I just so happen to be able to um, read energies, and I have a very my. I also live in New York, so I'm sorry about that. Um, but yeah, I my human experience is very spiritual, it's very metaphysical, and I study a lot in those areas. So I read a lot of philosophy, I read a lot about metaphysics. I love space, I love astrology, I love astronomy, I love the planet Earth, I love anything relating to um the larger, higher level, deeper aspects of life, reality, the human experience. And so, um, again, I wanted to provide my perspective and my insights um, on the Three Eye Atlas phenomenon that is currently happening um, in relation to our planet and see if we can get some information out of it, see if we can get some guidance out of it or any sort of like interesting information out of it. Um, but yes, I say that to say I will eventually get into doing a tarot reading for the comet slash extraterrestrial spacecraft, and I will also be getting into I actually recently got these yesterday. These came in yesterday. These are my oracle cards. Um, so I'll also be doing a little bit of oracle reading, oracle tarot, to again help us get some more information on on this thing flying in space. So I'm gonna take another sip of water. I think it's because I'm a little bit nervous. I feel like whenever I get nervous, my throat just gets dry all of a sudden. And I also feel like it's because I don't normally speak that often. Um, most of the time I'm like in my own space and I'm a lot of the conversation happens in my brain. Anyway, yeah, so cleanse my palate there. Um, so yes, into the conversation. I have actually been following this comet slash extraterrestrial spacecraft for the past few weeks, not really too in depth, very like high level. Again, I feel like a lot of the details when I was researching into this phenomenon, a lot of it included some scientific stuff, stuff about like I don't know. Yeah, it was a lot of like numbers and scientific terminology, which not to discredit any of that, but I'm just not as well versed in that world yet. Emphasis on yet. NASA, if you are here, I would love to collaborate in the near future. I'm just putting that out there. Um, so yeah, I'm not well versed in that stuff yet, but I did sort of look into it just to get a feel for like the general. the general picture of what's going on. So, some of the things that I picked up on was that, yes, this is a pretty abnormal object. Um, I was reading information from a couple of news sources saying that the object is traveling at an abnormal um it's going like on an abnormal what's the word? It's following an abnormal route, basically. So it's not following the traditional, or I guess it's not following um, yeah, the traditional route of like our actual solar system. I think what they mentioned is that it's following like a hyperbolic sort of way. It's going a hyperbolic way. Again, I don't really know what that information really means. But say that to say it's not following the typical way that objects should properly be flowing, I guess is what they were illustrating. Another thing is that they were talking about like a tail. So like the tail of the object is coming from the front instead of the back, or there's a tail in the front and the back. And they were saying like as the object is approaching the sun, the tail in the front is like getting bigger or something like that is what I was reading up on. But anyway, I did pick up on some information from Wikipedia. Just again, I feel like Wikipedia is a good source for me just to get like brief information, like nothing too like detailed. Um, because Lord knows I love to do like really deep dives and then my head starts to explode. And I don't know, I feel like for the stuff that I do, it's important for me to like ease the brakes a little bit in terms of looking into stuff because once I'm like deep into something, it's very hard for me to get out of it. But I did kind of look at some couple of things from Wikipedia, and I like took a couple of snippets, and I I made a little like Canva. I made like a little Canva slide thing for myself. So I titled it Three Eye Atlas. So something that I first picked up on, it says that the trajectory of Three Eye Atlas is coincidentally, closely aligned with the orbital planes of the solar system's planets, or the ecliptic. Specifically, the comet's trajectory is tilted 175 degrees with respect to the ecliptic. The trajectory of Three Eye Atlas will bring the comet close to the planets Venus, Mars, Jupiter, but not Earth, which I thought was interesting. It's hitting all these other planets, but not Earth. So I put that in my little pocket for later. Uh, what else is it saying? Since Three Eye Atlas cannot come close to Earth, it poses no threat to Earth. As Three Eye Atlas approaches perihelion, it passed by Mars at a distance of 0.19 AU on October 3rd. And then it says after perihelion, it will pass 0.65 AU from Venus on November 3rd, 1.80 AU from Earth on December 19th, 2025, and then it will pass 0.36 AU from Jupiter on March 16th, 2026. So we're going to be interacting with this comet slash extraterrestrial object all from now, or basically from July up until March of next year, which I think is interesting. I didn't really look too deep into like why this specific period, but I do know that astrologically we are in um Pluto in Aquarius, which again I won't go too deep into because I kind of want to focus on the subject at hand. But Pluto in Aquarius is very significant because this is the time where a lot of things are both coming into the surface, but there's a lot of shedding happening. There's a lot of illusions kind of dissolving. There's a lot of structures dissolving, institutions dissolving. Um, a lot of our belief systems are changing, right? We're beginning to question things a little bit more. We're beginning to challenge things a little bit more. That's where the Pluto energy comes in. We're beginning to, as well as Aquarius, because Aquarius is, Uranian. I almost said Uranus, Uranus. So there's that sort of rebellion, collective questioning, collective challenging, pushing boundaries type of energy, right? And there's also this like transformation. I don't know, intuitively, when I think of Pluto, I think of like death. I think of death, rebirth. I think of transformation. I think of um I just think of like sudden transformation almost, or just some sort of like threshold energy, right? So that within the context of this three-eye atlas situation here, it's interesting because it's kind of putting us in the position of questioning things out there, you know what I mean? Questioning outside of the bounds of like our sphere, outside of Earth. We're beginning to like starting to look into um and yeah, I think yeah, I was saying like this object it came from outside of our solar system, right? Um which again is interesting. I have some notes on that as well. But again, it's putting us in the position of again looking past this sort of boundary of um sort of what we think we are as a collective, or looking past the boundaries of like what looking past the boundaries of the relationship we have to our planet, the relationship that we have to our solar system, and the relationship that other objects in space um, have to our planet and to our solar system, right? So it's bringing up this energy of like questioning things and pushing boundaries in sort of a way, and it's kind of making us look outside of um, our own bubble, right? So anyway, but yeah, I thought it was really interesting that this object is approaching the specific planets. So Mars, the Sun, Venus, Jupiter, and then it was saying it wasn't going to come close to Earth, which again I think is very interesting. I'm going to tap into a lot of this stuff when I get into like my intuitive reading. But again, I just want to give us a little bit of context and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, I have to burp. Sorry. Anyway, the next thing that I pointed out from my research on Wikipedia was a July, there was a section that said a July 2025 study led by Matthew Hopkins and collaborators estimated with 68% confidence that 3-eye atlas is between 7.6 and 14 billion years old. 7.6 and 14 billion years old, based on the typical ages of stars in the thick disk. This means that the Eye Atlas could be older than the solar system. This means that 3-eye Atlas could be older than the solar system, which is 4.6 billion years old, and may well be the oldest comet yet seen. An independent analysis by Astor Taylor and Daryl Seligman, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, Mr. Seligman, in July 2025 estimated that 3-eye Atlas should be 3 to 11 billion years old, in broad agreement with Hopkins et al.'s estimate. So when I read that, I was like, oh my God, like this object is freaking old. Like, like, just think about that. This object is older than our solar system. Do you know how old like we're not living in a new like environment. You know what I mean? We're living in a very old solar system. Like we're talking about old, ancient, like space is a very old, um, it's a very old home that we live in, right? And so for this object to have existed before our own solar system, to have to be between 7.6 and 14 billion years old, I'm like, that is crazy. I'm gonna close my window because it's getting very hectic. Hold on. Um, where was I? Yes, so yeah, when I read that, I was like, for this object to be older than our solar system, I mean, my brain can't even logically fathom that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like my brain can't really wrap my head around this object existing before the entire solar system. Like, we're talking about before our planets, before the whole like structure of the solar system. I don't know, it might just be me. Like to me, that like hearing that is kind of like insane because you know it's the solar system. It's the sun, the moon, the stars, Jupiter, Mars, like it's older than these planets, you know what I mean? So this is like a ancient object, okay? So keep that in mind when we go into the reading, okay? I know this is a little bit of, you know, I don't know if this is boring for you guys, but this is pretty interesting, and I think it adds to the reading, right? Um, think of this as like, say if I'm doing a reading with you, I'm asking you questions, I'm getting information about you, which will help give us better yeah, better context around the reading, right? So I'm just giving us a little bit of context before we get into the reading and kind of get into, okay, what is this object about? Is this object trying to communicate anything to us? What is the energy behind this object? What does this object mean um, in terms of the present moment, in terms of the future? You know, this is just to help us get a little bit of context before I get into our reading, okay? So please bear with me. Um, okay. So the next detail that I had here was that I highlighted, it says, although the parent star of Three Eye Atlas is unknown, the properties and environment of its parent star can be inferred from the comet's composition and dynamical membership in the galactic disk. If it is a member of the thick disk, the parent star of Three Eye Atlas could be a low metallicity star with a heavy element abundance of at least 40% of the sun's. Three Eye Atlas is presumed to have formed within a protoplanetary disk of gas and dust, which surrounded the parent star when it was young. Observations by JWST and Sphere X have shown that Three Eye Atlas is rich in carbon dioxide, which suggests that it formed far from its parent star, beyond the CO2 frost line, where temperatures are cold enough for CO2 to condense into solid. At some point after its formation, Three Eye Atlas was gravitationally flung out of its parent star system, either by a close encounter with a giant planet or a star. So I took that clip because intuitively I was picking up on this line where it was saying the parent star of Three Eye Atlas could be a low metallicity star with a heavy element abundance of at least 40% of the sun's. Um, so it's like it was interesting that they were talking about the sun, or like they were kind of comparing um the parent star of Three Eye Atlas to the sun, right? They were comparing the parent star of Three Eye Atlas to the sun. So there's the parent of this comet, the parent of this comet extraterrestrial object, and then there's the sun. And they were saying that um, the parent star could be a low metallicity star with a heavy element abundance of at least 40% of the sun's. So it's like they were comparing the sun with the star, with the parent star of their atlas. So intuitively, I was picking up, okay, like they're already going into some sort of relationship, right? Some sort of relationship that the sun has with this object, okay? Which I thought was really interesting. And then another thing that I was picking up on was um that this object was flung out of its parent solar system. Not solar system. It was flung out of its parent star system, either by a close encounter with a giant planet or a star. Now, for one, okay, I'm gonna like add a little side note. I think what I love about doing this is that yes, it's very it gets very mystical and it gets very like spiritual and it gets very metaphysical, but I also think it's important to have fun when it comes to this stuff. I think it's also important to embrace the bizarreness of it all, right? This is bizarre. This is very bizarre. Like I don't want us to sit here and think that like, oh, like there's an object flying in the solar system. I don't want us to like think that that is just like, oh, it's nothing. You know what I mean? I want us to embrace the fact that this is a pretty cool thing that's happening. Like, there's a freaking comet flying in our solar system, interacting with our planets. Like, it's coming from outside of somewhere and it's interacting with our planets, right? Again, I'm gonna get deeper into the metaphysical stuff, but I just wanted to say that because I want to keep things as lighthearted as possible while also embracing, the how this affects us as a collective, how this affects us as a planet as well. I want to keep that sort of balance happening. So if you see me like laughing or going on tangent and stuff like that, it's because I am, like any other human being, I'm just enjoying what this is, and I actually find it really fascinating, and I hope that you guys find it fascinating as well. Anyway, yeah, so that made me really think. I was like, this object was somehow flung out of its star system, its parent star system. And they were saying it was either by a close encounter with a giant planet or star. I'm like, now, again, intuitively, I was like, okay, this could be true, right? This could be what it was. This could be, some sort of planet ran into this object, some sort of star is what they're saying, ran into this object, and it was somehow flung directly into our solar system. But my spirit, my like spiritually or energetically, I feel as though this was intentional. I feel as though there was some intention behind this object being flown into our solar system. And yes, should it have been a giant planet or a star? I feel like metaphysically there was some sort of intention behind this object exiting its star planet, coming into our solar system and leaving, right? Again, I feel like there was some sort of metaphysical intention, some sort of cause that so much like out of any probable experience, out of any probable outcome, this specific object left its star system, entered our star system, and is going to exit our star system. So that's the kind of image that I'm having, right? That's the kind of like thought process that I'm going through. I'm like, like there was some sort of intention behind this, okay? Or there's something that caused this, there's something non-physical that caused this object to come into our system. Um, like, also understanding that there's life here, right? There's life, there's us, there's animals, there's nature and things like that. There's life here. And this object was somehow gravitationally out of all the other solar systems. This one was specifically, attracted to our solar system. So, I was just thinking about that, right? So keep that in mind as well before we get into the reading. Um, okay, this other section that I went into, or this other section that I got from Wikipedia, it says, as 3 Atlas comes closer to the sun, it will become more active as its volatile ices will heat up more and begin sublimating faster. Sublimating, I think I searched before. I think sublimating means um like ice melting, like the ice starting to melt off of the object. So yeah, as Threat Atlas comes closer to the sun, it will become more active as its volatile ices will heat up more and begin sublimating faster. This could potentially lead to outbursts where the comet suddenly ejects a large amount of dust and brightens, or even fragmentation events where the comet's nucleus breaks into pieces, like what happened with the previous interstellar comet 2I Borisov. As of August 2025, observations have not detected any outbursts in 3 Atlas. Its brightness and activity level appear to be steady. Observations by NASA show that 3 Atlas may have been exhibiting. Observations by NASA's tests show that 3 Atlas may have been exhibiting cometary activity as early as the 7th of May 2025, 2 months before its discovery, when it was roughly 6.4 AU away from the sun. So, um, that is what I found really interesting as well, because they were basically saying that there's some sort of interaction that this object could, would, and will have had with the sun. Okay. So again, I'm thinking about, okay, like what is the purpose of this object interacting with the sun? Because again, how I was saying before, this object, the perihelion, this object reaching the perihelion is somehow a very significant event on its course. And they were saying again how once the object reaches perihelion, it'll somehow change direction or alter its direction. And so I was like, okay, like why though? Like again, it's asking the questions like why, specifically when it reaches the sun, will it essentially change course, right? Again, that could be because of gravity, because of physics, whatever. But again, metaphysically, right? I'm also thinking metaphysically and spiritually, like why why the sun? Why does this specific object have to reach the sun? Why does it have to interact with the sun? Why is this object interacting with the sun so significant, right? So I was thinking about that as well. Again, I feel like Spirit wants me to wait for the reading to get into like all that kind of stuff. And she wants me to finish with my slides. I have two more slides that I want to talk about with you guys just to give some more detail. Okay, this one is about the tail that they were talking about. So, um, the sun-facing plume is what the heading was on Wikipedia. It says during July and August 2025, the coma of 3I Atlas appeared to be elongated westward in the sky, in a direction toward the sun and toward the comet's direction of motion rather than away. In a direction toward the sun and toward the comet's direction of motion rather than away. So it's like this comet is moving toward the sun, but the tail, I guess, or the I don't know what it is, but the like the light the vision that I got was like, oh, these are like headlights or something. This is like headlights for the object. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, the object was moving toward the sun, and they're apparently saying instead of there being some light, the light coming out this way and moving like this way, there was light coming out this way as the object was moving toward the sun. So I'm like, okay, that makes a little bit of sense, you know, if it's like a traveling like machine or like if it's a ship of some sort, you know, typically those things have like headlights on them to navigate, navigate wherever they're trying to go. So that did get me thinking like as well, where um I can kind of understand the scientific debate of like whether this is a comet, like a regular comet, or if this is some sort of extraterrestrial transportation device, right? So I thought that was really interesting. Um, what else were they saying? It says this sun-facing feature is not a tail, contrary to initial reports, but is rather a dust plume that is being emitted from the heated, sunlit surface of 3I Atlas's nucleus, where ice sublimation occurs faster and thus ejects more dust. The sun-facing elongation of 3I Atlas's coma resembles those of other distant comets like, and then they listed the old comet, which have been known preferentially to eject dust from the sunlit side of their surfaces. By late August 2025, the coma of 3I Atlas no longer appeared elongated toward the sun, and the comet had developed an anti-solar tail. However, the sun-facing plume is still present, as telescope images from 26 August 2025 showed that the inner coma of 3I Atlas appeared fan-shaped and slightly brighter on the sun-facing side. So it's like this object, and then there's light coming out this way, and there's light coming out this way. So it's coming out of both sides. Um, which again I found very interesting. Okay. As I was reading this, I was like, this is interesting. Like, it's interesting that this object, again, I'm looking at it from a higher level perspective where I'm thinking about, um, like, why specifically does this object have these specific features? You know what I mean? I'm looking deeper into the why of things. Like, not necessarily what it is, not necessarily what it looks like, but why does it look this way? Why is it behaving this way? Why is it moving in this direction? Okay. And why is it here? um, so yeah, that was really interesting. And then lastly, oh, another thing, the whole dust thing. I thought, because yeah, they were pointing out like there's sublimation happening, and then there's like dust coming off of the object. And in it, like literally almost immediately my thought went, oh, this is like, I don't know, this object emitting some sort of dust or like particles of some sort. My mind immediately went to, oh, these particles, um these particles that are coming off this object, they could have some sort of information in them. Like, could they have some sort of information coded in them? What is on these particles, like what um molecules or chemicals or elements and things like that, like what's in these particles? And the fact that it's coming off of this object and it's being kind of ejected into our solar system, I thought that was really interesting as well. um and when you think of communication, or you think of some exchange of communication, it almost got me thinking about like when we speak to each other, like, sorry, I have to burp. When we speak to each other, we almost do the same thing where we kind of eject spit out of our mouths, right? We kind of eject particles um, when we speak, when we interact with other people, and we kind of exchange those particles with each other. But that was just the image that was coming in my mind when it came to these quote unquote dust particles coming off of the object and into our solar system. And then lastly, the last clip that I have here is it talks about carbon dioxide abundance. Now, okay. Now we know that when we breathe in oxygen, but what do we exhale? When we exhale, we breathe out what? Well, actually, let's Google this. What do humans breathe out? Carbon dioxide. No, let me stop. But we breathe out carbon dioxide, you guys. The same thing that they're saying there's an abundance of with this object. Why wasn't it, I don't know. I can't really think of any other molecules. Why wasn't it like salt or something? Why wasn't it um carbon monoxide? Why wasn't it any other substance, right? Again, I'm just asking why. Why this? Why now? Why this object? Why this solar system? I'm just asking why. Okay. So yeah, I was saying within the coma of Three Eye Atlas, the mixing ratio of CO2 relative to water is 8.0 to 1.0. This is one of the highest CO2 abundances seen in a comet, especially at its distance from the sun when it was first observed. Whereas solar system comets generally follow a trend of increasing CO2 to water mixing ratio with distance from the sun due to CO2 sublimating more than water at closer distances to the sun, only Three Eye Atlas and the unusual Oort cloud comet are known to break this trend with exceptionally high CO2 to water mixing ratios. On the other hand, the coma of Three Eye Atlas has a more typical CO to water mixing ratio of 1.4 to 0.2, resembling other solar system comets, including the interstellar comet 2I Borisov. The reason for this, let me actually read it. Let me not. It says the reason for the high abundance of CO2 in Three Eye Atlas's coma is uncertain. Uncertain. Okay. That to me is like, oh, okay, this is my tea now. Like this is when I can get into the tea because anytime where they're like, I don't know, for me, because I'm a metaphysician, because I love metaphysics, I love spirituality, I love the hidden aspects of reality and things like that. Whenever scientists say things are quote unquote uncertain, or whenever anyone says things are uncertain or unknown, that's when I get the intuitive jump of like, okay, let's get into the tea. Let's tap into the energy of it. Because again, I think that we tend to naturally go by what we can perceive with the senses. We tend to only follow the structure of reality, right? We tend to only use the tools that already exist. Or we tend to only, I feel like science only goes up to a certain point until they say, like, oh, it's uncertain, or oh, we're not sure, oh, um, this is as far as it'll go. This is as much as, this thing will go. You know what I mean? Science only goes so far, and then you have to look past that and go into beyond science. You have to go into the mechanism of things. You have to go into the thing that created science. You have to go into the mechanism that is allowing science to be science, if you catch my drift. So I was like, okay, we can get into the tea. So yeah, they were saying like um they're not really sure why there's such a high CO2 count. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. They said this could either mean that the comet has a CO2 rich nucleus or there is some mechanism limiting the sublimation of water from its nucleus. I thought that was interesting too, because they were saying, oh, there's some mechanism limiting the sublimation of water from its nucleus. So there's something like containing this water, like there's something containing the amount of water that's being sublimated on this object. So I was like, okay, what exactly is like, what exactly is containing this water on this object? And then I also got to thinking like, why? Like, why is water so significant on this object? Why is water sublimation so significant when it comes to this object? So I'm like, does this object rely on water in some way? Does this object like as we breathe oxygen, maybe this object breathes in water and then it exhales CO2. So the same way that we breathe in oxygen and we exhale CO2, maybe this object breathes in water and releases CO2 into space. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, it's just things, I don't know, it's very interesting, um, the way that this object is behaving, right? So which got me thinking, like, maybe we should look into like, okay, do you have any, like, what are your intentions, right? Let's get to know this object in some way. Um, It says a team of NASA researchers. I'm just making sure I'm still recording. I'm sorry, guys. It says a team of NASA researchers led by Martin A. Cordiner have hypothesized that if 3I Atlas has a CO2 rich nucleus, the comet may have either been exposed to high amounts of radiation or may have formed close to the CO2 frost line in its parent star protoplanetary disk. Okay. The thing that got me was high amounts of radiation. I'm like, okay, radiation, what exactly is radiating? You know? What is in this radiation? Because again, like I like to look deeper into these things. And when you think of radiation, you think of some sort of invisible something having an effect on this object. When you think of radiation, you think of some sort of vibrational, energetic frequency that is being emitted on this object, right? And um, we're going to talk about this stuff in other videos, but when you think of that in terms of metaphysics and the human experience, we also do the same thing. We are also susceptible to radiation and frequency and vibrations, and we also emit radiation, frequency, vibration. So I'm just thinking of like, okay, the relationship that this object has to its parent system, to its parent star system. It's coming over here to us in our solar system, taking whatever it got from its parent system and bringing it here into our solar system. It's doing all of these interesting things with our planets and with the sun, and it's emitting CO2 in it. For some reason, has a high amount of X, Y, and Z, and it's behaving in an interesting way. You know what I mean? I'm just asking all these different questions of like, okay, what is this about? Like what is going on? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of questions here. And the reason why I love doing stuff like this is because I want us to get comfortable. I want us to get really comfortable asking questions and being curious about what is going on as a collective, as a planet, as this um, object that is floating within a solar system in space and is interacting with other space objects and planets and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I want us to begin getting comfortable doing stuff like this. And I don't have any scientific background. I don't have any sort of like, um, I didn't go to school for this stuff. I'm just really, really, really spiritual. I'm very like by nature, I love looking deeply into things. You can go into my, well, you can't really go into my astrology, but it's quite baked into who I am as a person. So I love looking into stuff like this. This stuff genuinely fascinates me. And it just so happens that my life has gone in this direction. Um, and I don't know, I just want us to begin thinking higher level and to enjoy it and to like actually be like, you know what, like it's actually really cool to like look into this stuff and like ask questions about it and ask questions about everything for that matter. But anyway, I'm gonna drink some more water because, you know, I feel like you guys are getting like a raw version of like my nerdy my nerdy self. I feel like some of like I don't know, I have some friends that watch my videos and I'm like I feel like you guys don't really see this part of me where I'm going deeply into stuff like this. But I do love this stuff. I love reading about, you know, stuff like this and going into it. But yes, you see what I mean? I feel like it's very interesting that yeah, for some reason this object has to contain water or it's containing water for some reason, right? And then quote unquote it was exposed by some sort of high amount of radiation. Um, and then yeah, I don't know, just the way that it's moving, the way that this object is moving is very interesting to me. And then it says, alternatively, if 3i Atlas contains more water than suggested by JWST, 3i Atlas could have an unusually thick insulating crust hiding water ice underneath. I'm gonna repeat that because I feel like I butchered that. It says alternatively, if 3i Atlas contains more water than suggested by JWST, 3i Atlas could have an unusually thick insulating crust hiding water ice underneath. Further observations by the JWST, especially when 3i Atlas becomes more active, will be needed to determine which scenario is more likely. So there's still questions about this object. There's still speculation about this object. There's still um, a lot of questions about this object. Um, and I'm really excited to. I'm like, this is where I step in. But no, I'm saying that to say I'm really excited to um, go into this for you all. And I'm excited to share my perspective on this. Um, anyway, so I was thinking about all these things, right? We have our context and stuff like that. And I was going a little bit deeper into um I was meditating on this, right? Um sorry, I'm just reading the message that I wrote. Um yeah, so I was meditating on this yesterday, actually on my way home, and oh no, I was on the subway. So I was thinking about this, and I was on the subway. I remember I was on the subway, and I was looking at the people on the subway, and I was observing how like they were taking pictures. Like we were on the subway, and they were taking pictures of like, I guess the crowd on the subway, because you know, again, it's New York City, and so the trains get packed, and I feel like that's a pretty I don't want to say unique phenomenon, but specifically in New York, that's a common thing where, you know, the trains are packed and, you know, if you're a tourist, you know, you want to take pictures, you want to capture the vibes and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, cool. But then I was thinking, I was like, tourist, what does a tourist do? You know, like what is it like when you travel somewhere and, you know, you elect to go somewhere, right? You decide, you know, hey, I want to go to Paris, right? You start to plan to go to Paris. You start to think about, oh, like these are all the things I want to do when I go to Paris. This is all the things I want to see when I go to Paris. These are all the things I want to interact with when I go to Paris. Okay. I want you guys to like pick up on what I'm putting down right now. So say I'm a tourist. I'm thinking about all the things I want to see, all the things I want to interact with. Do I want to take pictures? Do I want to get information about certain things, right? Do I want to visit this place and get information about this place? Do I want to visit this area and get information about this area? Do I want to meet um, these people or these energies and get information about these energies, these people? Um, what does a tourist do? They observe things, they record things, they study, they learn, they receive information, they consume the food of that place, they consume the music of that place, they consume um, the culture of that place. And when you think like high level, that's all information. That's just all information about a place, right? That's all um, context, right? That's all context of a place. And so I was thinking, I was like, this object, this three-eye atlas object, it's coming from somewhere else outside of our solar system. It made its way into our solar system. It's traveling past all these specific planets, like how I was saying with Mars. It's going to Mars, it's going to Venus, it's going to Jupiter, it's going to the sun. And again, scientifically, it's just passing these things. Scientifically, what they're saying is like, oh, it's just passing these things, passing our planets. When it reaches the sun, it's just, emitting a little bit of dust, that's it. And then it's gonna go away. But metaphysically, I was like, okay, it may not be doing much physically, right? It may not be doing much like physically, like it may not be like coming apart or anything, or like it may not be like, it may not be this big explosion or things coming. It may not be anything dramatic physically, but what if this object or this, extraterrestrial thing, like what if it's doing something else that we just don't really know or that we're just not really aware of, you know what I mean? And yeah, I was just thinking about it from the perspective of a tourist. I was like, okay, maybe it's just like, maybe it's not necessarily giving us anything. Because again, I feel like there's a lot of conversation around, oh, like, is this object gonna do something to us? Like, are there gonna be aliens coming down and like taking over our planet? You know what I mean? There's a lot of conversations about this object doing something to us. There's a lot of information about us experiencing something from this object. But I was like, what if this object is not trying to do anything to us, but is just trying to get information from us? It's just trying to observe us in some way or observe our planet in some way, right? Or not our planet, but observe our entire solar system in some way. Okay? I'm gonna put my glasses on because I feel like we're gonna get a little bit mystical, scientific, metaphysical, which gets me really hot and bothered. No, I'm kidding. Um, and then I was thinking about the sun, specifically the sun, but I was thinking about all the planets. And, when you think about the sun and how all of our planets revolve around the sun, the sun is at the center and then it's our planets and stuff, and it goes around and around and around. I was like, the three-eye atlas doesn't necessarily have to come to Earth to get information about us because the sun sees everything. This object doesn't have to come near Earth at all to get information about us because the sun sees everything. The sun is the one that's waking us up. The sun is the one that is putting us to sleep when it, goes, to the other side, and we get the moon, and it's now the moon's turn to be up in the sky. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Like the sun and the moon and stuff like that, they're the ones that kind of influence us, and they, in some metaphysical way, they have information about us because these celestial objects observe us every single day, and they have been observing us for the beginning of time, basically. Um, so I thought that was very interesting. I was just sitting on that idea. I was like, yeah, this object doesn't technically have to get information about it. Like, it doesn't have to be directly physically close to us in order for it to get information about us. Like, it can just go to the sun and be like, hey, sun, tell me everything that you've seen. Show me everything that you've seen. Tell me everything that you've heard. Tell me everything that's been going on this planet about these human beings. If this object were to be some sort of extraterrestrial um, transportation device, right? Let's just say, hypothetically, right? They don't have to come to us directly. They can just go to the sun and be like, hey, sun, give us all the information you have. And then we'll be right on our way. And they'll be like, oh, they'll go back to wherever, or they'll go wherever they're trying to go. They'll be like, oh my God, guess what the sun told me? Guess what? They'll get information from the sun. They'll be like, oh my gosh, like, look what the sun told me. So, boom. Um, the sun told me this, the sun showed me this about what's going on. They showed me everything about these civilizations, these cultures, these tribes, and these wars that went on, these, interactions that these humans have gone through and stuff like that. Um, and boom, the sun has all that information. Um, which is interesting. It's very interesting. And take that and think about astrology too, where it's like when you think of a natal chart or when you think of whatever kind of chart, the sun is I think it's like the sun is one of the primary planets, I guess. I don't know if it's considered the planet, but it's the primary aspect of um, the chart of human beings, the chart of the planet, any kind of chart that you pull. The sun has a very significant aspect, and the sun has aspects to certain other planets and stuff like that, right? Um, so even astrologically, I'm like the sun has some information about us because when we're born, we get we get that energy from the sun. We get that aspect from the sun that lives within us. And so I was like, that's why I thought about that because I was like, yeah, like scientifically, sure, like it's not coming near us. You're going to assume like, oh, like it's like, well, we're fine, like there's no threat here. But if you think about it metaphysically, if you think about it astrologically, spiritually, I'm like, yeah, like the sun is a huge aspect of our experience, of our human spirit experience energetically and spiritually and astrologically. So technically, this object doesn't have to physically come near us. It can just go to the sun and get that information from the sun. And I saw something earlier, I think it was like a news article or something, or I don't know, maybe it was a TikTok, but it was saying that when it came to the sun, or like when the object came close to the sun, there were like some solar flares coming near it, or like, I don't know, there were some solar flares like launching itself onto this object or something like that. And I was like, that's interesting as well, because they were saying like, oh, this is the sun trying to attack the object. And I'm like, it's very interesting how we think, like the way that we think, and that we assume that like we're under attack. We assume like we immediately jump to this case scenario where it's like, oh, we're under attack, aliens are coming over, this, that, and the third. Where I'm like, I don't know if we're as significant to the cosmos as we think we are. Because we assume that, I think it's because we assume that we are alone in this entire cosmos, because we assume that, or because we like kind of go with that story, we automatically assume that anything that happens or like anything that comes in is going to have some sort of catastrophic, it's something to be like, afraid of, or something to be, catastrophic, or some sort of grand dramatic experience is supposed to happen. You know what I mean? Not to discredit, the fact that we as human beings are multidimensional beings, and we do have this very divine connection to that which created the entire cosmos. Um, which, I'm not even going to get into that. But anyway, yes, that's not to discredit that. That's not to discredit, our importance and significance in the cosmos. But I'm saying that there's more than what meets the eye to just our experience, right? There's more than what meets the eye to just planet Earth. There's entire galaxies, there's entire dimensions to this whole thing, right? So that's where I'm coming from. And so I was basically, to that point, I was saying like, okay, like maybe like this thing isn't really like coming, like if it is an extraterrestrial project, if it is an extraterrestrial, if it is an alien, if it is, whatever, maybe they're just coming to check us out and going home. Like maybe they're just coming to like observe us, get information about us, and they're gonna go about their way. I also came to this conclusion because I was thinking about the word atlas. I was thinking about, okay, why did they name it Three Eye Atlas, And so I searched up, I was like, oh, what is an atlas? Because I was like, I've heard of the word atlas, but I was like, I don't really know what atlas really means. Um, and I just Googled, I was like, okay, what is an atlas? Let me see, what is an atlas? And it says an atlas is a collection of maps, typically bound into a book that can cover a specific region or the entire world. Let me repeat that. An atlas is a collection of maps, typically bound into a book that can cover a specific region or the entire world. The term is also used for other collections of charts, graphs, or tables on a specific subject, such as anatomy or historical data. Um, I'm gonna let this fire truck go by. Okay. So I was like, that's interesting that this is called Three Eye Atlas and not Three Eye something else. You know what I mean? Again, I like to question things in that way because I feel like there's a reason for everything. There's a reason and there's a meaning or some sort of hidden layer to everything, right? So it's like, okay, that's interesting that it's called Three Eye Atlas, and there's this object that's like not even a part of our solar system coming here and then leaving. It's coming here, interacting with our planets, the sun, and stuff like that, and then it's leaving, right? And then you have Atlas, which is a book of maps or charts. So I'm like, this object could literally just be recording our solar system, like creating a map of our solar system. Okay. Which that on top of Pluto and Aquarius, on top of like Pluto and Aquarius being like a 20-year transit, it's very interesting. It's just very interesting to me that this object is just like floating along in our solar system. And physically, it may not be doing anything, but metaphysically, I'm like, this could be an object that's just recording information on us and transmitting it somewhere. And we don't even know. We don't even know because our technology is not that advanced compared to, the possibility of how advanced our technology could be. Or we're just not quite there yet, you know what I mean? Consciously and stuff like that. So I was like, very interesting that Atlas, like it's called Atlas, and then an Atlas is like a book of maps or charts, and it's a book of recorded information about specific geographical locations. So I was like, and then it got me thinking, like, okay, you have 3 Atlas. This could just be a recording object, a recording device, and then who's to say there could be another object? I don't know. But you see what I mean? I'm like, This might not be doing anything right now, but maybe there's another object that's supposed to be coming in the near future. Um, that could be doing something else or be going a different route or whatever. There's just a lot of questions there, a lot of potential there as well. So I guess that's just to paint a picture of like where I'm coming from, where I'm like, there's a lot of interesting things about this object and about its behavior and about its relationship that this object has to us and to the planet and to the solar system and to this grand story. I always like to try to I think I'm going to work on bringing this. I'm going to work on bringing this stuff full circle, and always bringing it back to the bigger picture here as a collective, as a human race, and how do we move forward, okay? Because I want my content to not just be information, but I want it to be, okay, how do we move forward? How do we take this and incorporate this into our daily experience, our collective experience, okay? Um, so yeah, I'm gonna, let us sit with that and, kind of feel that in. But, again, those are just very interesting, intuitive hits that I was getting about this object. Okay. So I think one of the things, or I guess this is going to be like a checkpoint where from now moving forward, I want us to not look at the physical aspect of the Red Atlas, but I want us to tap in and understand that there is a metaphysical aspect to this object where whenever you see something physical, there is something hidden, there is something deeper about its essence, that is sort of manifested into its outward expression. Okay, similar to a human being. There's me, but then there's my spirit, there's my soul. There's you, but then there's your spirit, there's your soul, there's your personality, there's those hidden aspects that um, sort of seep outward and kind of shape your outward experience. Okay, so that's that on that. um, I guess we can tap into the reading. I can already tell this is going to be a long video because it's already an hour and 16 minutes. I'm sorry. This is probably the longest I've ever spoken, ever. But again, I love this stuff. I think it's really cool. I think it's exciting. And I do want to get in the practice of speaking, of public speaking, and of um, presenting information, because I want this to be my career. I want this to be what I do for the rest of my life. I love this stuff. I love serving. I love um, doing things that serve the collective. I love the idea of, us expanding our consciousness and things like that. So I don't know. I don't want to get too sappy, but yeah. Um, so Spirit, I want us to tap into the Atlas. If you could please ground me. If you could please give me the headspace, put me in the right headspace to receive whatever information you have. Spirit, I want to connect with through our atlas. I want to connect with what information can we gather from this object or extraterrestrial transportation vehicle. Um, Spirit, give me the eyes to see the ears to hear, and the words to speak. Spirit, give me the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the words to speak. Spirit, give me the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the words to speak. Spirit, give me the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the words to speak. Spirit, give me the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the words to speak. Spirit, give me the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the words to speak. Not Siri. Okay. Spirit, I want to tap into 3-eye atlas, and I want to just get information about this object. I want to get information on why did this object come here? I want to get into why this object specifically came here at this specific point in time. I want to get into what is it doing and why. I want to get into what is this object doing and why. I want to get into what is this object doing and why. I want to get into what is this object doing, why is it doing it, and what effect it will have on us as a collective. I want to get into what is this object doing it, what is this object doing, why is it doing it, and if anything, what effect is what effect is it having on this collective, on us as a collective. I'm going to shuffle one more time, Spirit. One more time. I want to get into what is this object doing? Why is it doing it? And what effect is this object having on us as a collective? Spirit, what is this object doing? Why is this object doing it? There's something up with my cards. I don't know if this is the deck Spirit wants me to use. Spirit, do you want me to use this one or do you want me to use a different one? Spirit is pointing me to the gold deck. Give me 1 second. All right, Spirit, we'll try this again. Take my glasses off. Spirit, I want to get into, excuse me. What is this object doing? Why is it doing it? And what effect will this object have on the collective? Spirit, what is this object doing? Why is it doing it? And what impact will this object have on the collective? Spirit, what is this object doing? Why is it doing it? And what impact will this object have on the collective? What is the object doing? Why is the object doing it? Mm. Thank you, Spirit. Just gonna move this over. Sorry. And what effect will this object have on the collective? This is at the bottom, Hanged Man. Okay. Again, I'm sorry that this video is so long. I'm so sorry. I'm probably gonna put a time thingy on here. My lips are dry. Sorry. Okay. So for what the Theory Atlas comet extraterrestrial transportation device, in terms of what this thing is doing, what came out was the Four of Pentacles in reverse, the Queen of Wands upright, and the Moon in reverse. Clarified by the Star upright and the Ace of Swords upright. Immediately I'm being shown gold. Spirit is telling me there's a reason why she wanted me to get the gold deck. There's a reason why she wanted me to pull the gold deck. Why did you want me to pull the gold deck? I just heard alchemy. There's something about transformation, transmutation and transformation. Mm. So with the Four of Pentacles reversed, Spirit is telling me that in terms of what this object is doing, in terms of what Theoria Alice is doing, is that it is sort of loosening up the structure, is what I'm hearing. There's some sort of structure here that Spirit is showing me, and this object is whatever it's doing. This object is kind of loosening that structure. Here's the four of Pentacles in reverse. There's some sort of there's some sort of limits being broken here. I'm just hearing breaking of limits, pushing of limits. The Four of Pentacles energy is it's the energy of, um, it's the energy of being strict, of setting boundaries, of being, um, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the energy of holding things close to you, okay? And when it comes to holding things close to you, it's out of protection, it's out of not wanting to spend, not wanting to go outside of some sort of limit. It's about setting some sort of limit on oneself, right? And not willing to go beyond a specific limit. And with the Four of Pentacles in reverse, Spirit is telling me that the object knows that, and because it knows that, that's what it's doing. It's breaking some sort of boundary. What specific boundary does that entail? It's a physical boundary. Okay, which makes a lot of sense. This object came from outside of the solar system, so it quite literally broke through our. I mean, not it didn't break through anything, but it passed some sort of boundary of our solar system, and just made its way through. It broke through some sort of energetic boundary, some sort of physical boundary of um, some sort of scientific boundary. It's questionable, right? It's bringing us to question the boundaries of what we think it is, what we think it is, what we think it is doing within our solar system, how we think it's interacting with us, is sort of pushing some sort of boundary in terms of how we're thinking about this object and what we think this object is, okay? I'm interested in this Queen of Wands energy, but it's interesting that the Queen of Wands energy, we have the Queen of Wands energy upright and then the moon in reverse as well. So there's this energy of bringing some sort of clarity to a situation, but there's sovereignty here. There's confidence here. There's the energy of confidence. Confidence in what exactly? Confidence in ourselves is what I just heard. Confidence in ourselves is what I just heard. And again, these three cards are clarified by the Star and the Ace of Swords. This has a lot to do with communication, the way that we are thinking, thinking about ourselves is what I'm hearing. That's what this object is doing. It's influencing the way that we think about ourselves by us observing it. And through by us observing this object, we're thinking about ourselves and our relationship to it, is what Spirit is telling me. Spirit just told me to think about the fact that we are able to perceive this object in the first place. And I think that's why Spirit is pointing me here. There's sovereignty in being able to perceive this object, this very old, old, old object. Us just simply being able to perceive it. Spirit is telling me the future, the future, the future. And then Spirit is also pointing me to how old Three Eye Atlas is. You remember how I told you guys Three Eye Atlas is like, I think 7.5 to 11 billion years old? So to us, this object is very old and it's something of the past. But to this object, we're the future. Like it's perceiving us as something from the future, something that came from the past into the future, if that makes sense. Mm. So we view this object as very old, but the object views us as really young. The object views us as really young, is what Spirit is telling me. What is this object doing? What is this object doing? What is this object doing? Spirit is saying that this object knows that as humans, we are prone to deception. We're prone to deception. We're prone to assuming things that really aren't true, or we kind of go with our first assumption when it comes to certain things. And so that's where this moon in reverse comes in, where I feel like this object is almost pushing us in a direction of thinking not necessarily harder, but thinking alternatively about this object or about ourselves. And I think that's where the conversation about metaphysics is coming in, where it's like, okay, there's a limit to what science is saying. So we can push that. We can kind of look into, okay, how do we look at this from a different lens, is what Spirit is showing me. Gold is sun, the sun. That's why. Gold is associated with the sun. Thank you, Spirit. The star. Again, there's sun energy here, so I feel like the sun is definitely present within this reading, or there's something about the sun here that is very significant. And you remember how I was telling you guys, the sun, yes, physically the sun is just there. Like the sun, it gives us sunlight, whatever. It gives us energy, things like that. But again, we have to start thinking about the fact that these planets, these stars, they carry information. And not only do we get information from the sun gets information from us. These planets get information from us as well. We have to start thinking about these things. We have to start thinking about the relationship that we have to each other, okay? Again, this is still on the topic of what this object is doing. Mm. This object is pointing me in the direction of renewal, reset. Something is being reset here, or something is being brought into some sort of there's some cleansing or clearing out happening that's bringing us into this energy where we're being renewed, we're having some sort of restored sense of hope. This object is doing some sort of energetic work, I guess you could say, that's giving us a sense of hope, or maybe assisting in the process of giving us some sort of hope or um purification. And it's interesting that in the star card, this character here, she has her foot both in the water and on the earth. And again, remember how I was saying there's something about water here where this object seems to be reliant on water, where it doesn't want to. There's some sort of resistance to this object releasing water into the atmosphere. And maybe this object is connected spiritually to the conscious and the subconscious, the physical and the spiritual world. Spirit is showing me that um, this object that came by the sun, or I think this object being near to the sun is very significant. And whatever it's doing with the sun, or whatever it did with the sun, um, whether it's an exchange of information, whether it's an exchange of energy, that is being absorbed by the sun and it's going to be exerted out onto us, onto human beings. And if you're thinking about it, that makes sense because comes down on us. The sun rays, they come down on us and they have an effect on our bodies, and we absorb um, not just heat, but we also absorb information from the sun. I think that's how our bodies function almost, where um, our DNA and things like that kind of takes in the biological information, or I don't know. I don't really know how the body works and things like that, but I do know that the sun has an effect on our bodies and DNA and things like that. So that's what Spirit is showing me, where yes, this object is coming near to the sun. It's giving the sun some sort of information, or there's some sort of exchange happening between the sun and Three Eye Atlas. And I don't know when, but Spirit is showing me that whatever information the sun received from this object, the sun is going to give that information to us in some way. Ace of Swords, communication, travel. Ace of Swords is the highest expression of communication. So there's some sort of divine communication happening um, with this object. There's a crown here as well. So it's heavy sovereign energy, heavy sovereign energy. Where I'm getting the feeling where it's gonna give us some sort of sense of sovereignty. It's going to whatever is gonna happen. I don't know. But whatever download, whatever new knowledge or new technology we get from this, it's gonna give us a new sense of confidence and sovereignty, and being confident in ourselves. But first, for starters, it's breaking our boundaries. It's breaking boundaries. It's bending the way that we think about ourselves and the relationship that we have to space and this object. It's bringing those things into question. And in bringing those things to question, we're bending the boundaries of that, right? So that's what the object is doing. There's sun energy here for sure. So it's doing something with the sun. It definitely is doing something with the sun. Maybe not physically per se, but definitely metaphysically. And Spirit is showing me she wants me to reiterate that it's doing something physically. Yes, it may be moving around physically within physical space, but it's also doing something metaphysically, something spiritually as well. Because again, this person has her foot both in the water and on the ground. Conscious, subconscious, physical, spiritual. This energy is also showing me mental clarity. When you think of the star card, you think of mental clarity as well. There's clarity energy here, there's purification. So think about whatever questions, whatever deep questions we have as a collective. What questions have we been sitting on for quite some time as a collective, as a planet? Maybe this object is coming to deliver some information to us that will help give us a little bit of clarity. And it's interesting because again, the perihelion happened on Wednesday, yesterday, and Wednesday is Mercury, is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication, travel, of, long distance communication, travel, um, ideas, the mind. And so I think that's interesting well as well, um, in that the perihelion happened yesterday where the object was the closest to the sun. And again, remember how I said that the sun is going to absorb this information and give it to us through its radiation. Again, how I was talking about radiation, it's going to give us this information via its radiation. And remember how I was also saying, or they also said on Wikipedia, that the object received, or I don't know, they were saying how the reason why the object had so much CO2 or something like that was because of radiation on its star, excuse me, in its home, excuse me, in its home area, basically. So that's interesting as well. But that is what Spirit is showing me. There's definitely some communication happening between Threat Atlas, the sun, and us. There's definitely going to be some relaying of information that it's doing right now. And it has a lot to do with us getting some sort of clarity. It's ridding us of some sort of confusion, some sort of unknown that we've been afraid of, is what I'm getting here. There's some sort of unknown that we've been afraid of, or that there's a lot of fear around. And maybe not necessarily fear, but there's a lot of delusion, is what Spirit is showing me. There's a lot of I'm just getting delusion or illusion in general. There's a lot of illusionness happening. And so this object is assisting in us gaining clarity of that illusion being dissolved in some way. And again, water, it's clearing that path for us. Mm, the star card, I'm also getting the energy of like out of body. That was also an intuitive hit that I got where I was like, okay, if you think of the solar system as our body, right, of the body of our cosmos, and you think of this object that just randomly flew into our body or just randomly flew into our energy field, right? And started interacting with it and started putting different stuff in it and started, interacting with the planets and stuff like that. I was like, this is technically a metaphysical or on a larger scale. This is like our solar system literally having an out of body experience. You see what I'm saying? This object, Threat Atlas, is literally our solar system having an out of body experience. Okay. And think about it. Think about quote unquote out of body experiences. Out of body experiences, these are situations or circumstances that after you experience them changes you. It changes you. It changes your consciousness. It changes the way that you perceive yourself and the world around you and other people. It almost gives you this very cathartic, um, ethereal, again, non-physical experience, right? And so again, Spirit is pointing me to this non-physical aspect of Threat Atlas, that we should be paying attention to as opposed, not as opposed to, but in conjunction with the scientific aspect, the astrological aspect, I mean, the astronomical aspect as well. There's a whole other deeper layer that's non-physical happening here, is what Spirit is saying, okay? Um, Next I want to get into why is it doing it, okay? This is what it's doing. This is why is it doing it, and this is the effect that it's gonna have. Or the effect that it's gonna have on the collective, okay? So for what it's doing, I mean, for why it's doing it, okay? So why is 3 Atlas doing this for us? Or why is it doing it to us? Or why is it here doing what it's doing? Okay. Spirit gave us temperance upright, the magician in reverse, judgment upright, clarified by a wheel of fortune upright, and the 4 of cups upright. Immediately, I'm looking at the magician card. The magician card in this spread is the only card that's in reverse. So immediately, Spirit is bringing my attention to the magician card. I'm gonna drink a little water. Now, mm, interesting. Mm. Okay, so what I'm picking up on with this spread is there's definitely some sort of divine intervention happening. So this is why this object is doing it. There's some sort of divine intervention that this object is conscious of, or there's some sort of divine intervention that this object wants to participate in, is what Spirit is telling me. So divine intervention is coming up here. I'm also looking at the temperance and judgment sitting outside of the magician in reverse. But I'm not saying I'm confused by the magician in reverse. I'm just trying to get more information on what this magician in reverse is showing us. Um, okay. Spirit is showing me healing. Spirit is showing me balance as well. Mind, body, and spirit. Mind, body, and spirit. Mind, body, and spirit. There's something about mind, body, and spirit, and there's something about divine intervention, and there's something about balance. Yeah. You remember how I was saying this is about clarity? There's something very interesting going on, for sure. I always get so excited when the magician card comes out. You guys know that the magician is, I don't know, I feel like the magician, both the magician and the high priestess are both my signature cards. I feel like my energy is very much intertwined with these cards, or I'm just very connected to those cards or those energies. And again, this spread is for why is this object doing it? And what spirit is showing me, or why I guess what the object is showing me is that this object knows that we have not yet reached our full potential. Well, we have not yet reached our full potential as a human race. Or this solar system, I guess, has not reached its full potential. Like I'm getting the energy of like, okay, it's not coming, because again, there's a context of like, it's not coming directly towards us. It's not coming directly to us, right? It's interacting with all these other planets, okay? And I have a feeling that again, it's something about the energy, because when you think about astrology, when you think of a chart, it doesn't go into the energies of Earth. The Earth is not even an aspect, right? Because the Earth is basically the center of, like, the Earth is what receives these influences, right? And so with this object interacting with everything else other than Earth, obviously whatever this object is, it understands in some way, shape, or form the astrological aspect of our solar system and how it kind of interacts with the planet Earth and with Earth in general. Okay. But again, I say this to say it understands that we have not yet reached our full potential and it's coming to do something about that, is what Spirit is telling me. That's what I'm getting with the Judgment card. There's something about divine. Spirit is telling me divine inheritance, but that's not what I was trying to say. Divine inheritance, divine inheritance, divine inheritance. What I was trying to say was divine intervention. Wow. Thank you, Spirit. You see this card, the Judgment card? There's multiple people here. There's multiple people on these. I don't know what it is. I think they're like, I don't even know what these are. I don't want to say they're caskets, but they're definitely um structures of some sort. But there's different people here, and these people each have their own experiences. But on a collective level, Spirit is showing me that there's different groups of people having different experiences. You have people, um, you have this collective of people having this specific experience, and then you have another collective of people who are having another experience. And Spirit is saying that it's related to this mind, body, and spirit. It's related to how different groups of people are operating. There's some people that are operating in an imbalanced state where they don't, where their mind, body, and spirit is out of balance. And so they may need some divine intervention. And then you have some people who have worked on themselves, who have gone through some sort of experience already, have gone through some sort of divine intervention already, and their mind, body, and spirit is in balance, or they know how to bring their mind, body, and spirit into balance. And so for them, they're receiving some sort of divine inheritance. Thank you, Spirit. So there's multiple things happening out of this one event. And Spirit is pointing me to this prism. Oh my God. This is why I love this stuff. Spirit is pointing me to this prism where you have this specific thing here, this specific structure, but it's emitting a plethora of colors, a plethora of energies, a plethora of information. Because again, energies carry information, vibration carries information, and depending on what the vibration is, you're going to receive different information. And depending on the person, this event or this object is going to deliver whatever information is right or whatever information is relevant to us on an individual and collective level. And Spirit is saying there's a reason why it went to the sun. There's a reason why it's interacting with the sun. I love New York. I love New York. I feel like that's Spirit saying, you got it. There's a reason why it's interacting with the sun because the sun is our main source of light. Solar energy. Is this gold? Or no, it's like iridescent. But this is the sun. This is our main source of light. And when light travels through a specific prism or whatever, through a prism or whatever, it fractals. It creates a fractal of the spectrum of the rainbow. And that's just the vision that Spirit is showing me. It's showing me that that's essentially the relationship that this object is developing or understands about the sun or about this solar energy, where depending on our relationship to the sun, maybe astrologically, depending on our relationship to the sun and depending on our level of consciousness, thank you, Spirit. The Spirit is pointing me to this. I don't know if you guys can see. Spirit is pointing me to this person here. You see how their head, their crown is illuminated? This is consciousness. Depending on the frequency of our consciousness, the frequency of our awareness individually, um, we're each going to have, there's going to be some specific effect that each of us is going to feel from this interaction that this object is having with the sun. But it depends on our frequency, it depends on our level of consciousness, it depends on where we are on our mind, body, and spiritual journey. Okay. So for those that are quote unquote out of balance and feel as though they need some sort of divine intervention, it's going to be a divine intervention. Whatever's coming from this object, it's some sort of divine intervention. And then for those who have, are a little bit farther in their work, have made a little bit more strides in their work, um, whatever's coming through from this object is going to be some form of divine inheritance. And it's interesting because everyone's happy. Everyone is satisfied. That's what I'm getting. It's like whatever this is, regardless of where anyone is, it's going to be beneficial to all of us in some way. It's going to have an effect on us individually and therefore collectively because it's relative to our inner experience. It's relative to our metaphysical experience. Regardless of where we are in our spiritual experience, is going to enhance that experience, is what Spirit is saying. And because it's enhancing all of our experiences, it's essentially uplifting all of us, regardless of where we are. And I feel like Three Eye Alice is really smart in that way because it knows not to go to Earth because Earth doesn't have that. It doesn't have that metaphysical. Um, it doesn't have that metaphysical aspect, right? Because I'm more so thinking about astrology, where astrology, when it comes to astrology, it doesn't focus on like Earth is the center, and everything else, the other planets influences what goes on planet Earth. And it also knows through our atlas, it also knows that the sun is one of the most significant aspects um, to not just the planet, but to like humans, like our inner soul design, our inner spiritual design. Like by spiritual design, the sun is very significant. It's the first like aspect that we are kind of born into, whether it's sun in Aries, sun in, Taurus, Leo, whatever. That's like that's what makes us kind of like us. That's like the beginnings of everything, right? So Spirit is saying like this object is aware of that. Like it's aware of the hidden aspects of our experience. And that's why it's kind of doing what it's doing. And that's why it kind of interacted with the sun the way that it did, or went to the sun in some way, or went to the sun and did what it did, or is doing what it's doing with the sun. Thank you, Spirit. Take another sip of water. It's a beautiful reading so far. So the magician energy is here where there's some sort of unlocked potential. There's some sort of unlocked potential where it's like collectively we know like we're just not satisfied with what's going on right now. We're just not satisfied with our current experience. And so it's like this object is kind of participating in some larger divine intervention where it's like, okay, here you guys go. Here you guys go. Here's something new for you. Here's something interesting for you to think about. Here's something new for you to focus on that will enhance your experience. And it has something to do with spiritual. It's something spiritual or something metaphysical. Where it's like, oh, wait. It's like the person here is like, oh, that's interesting. This random this random new experience just came into our life just randomly. Again, it's like it's coming out of the sky. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Where did this come from? You know? Um, that's what I'm getting from this. And the Wheel of Fortune is very beautiful because it's about evolution, it's about progression, it's about innovation, it's about keeping the wheels turning. Spirit is telling me that this is part of the progression of the universe. And Spirit is showing me a wheel, how the wheel by nature has to keep turning regardless of the situation. Regardless of how helpless we feel, regardless of how bad things are going, regardless of how much we believe there's some sort of end of the world, you know, um, regardless of how much we think there's going to be an end to things, the wheels are always going to keep turning. This is about evolution. This isn't about death. This isn't about aliens taking over. This is about making sure that the universe keeps going in the direction that it's supposed to go in, which is upward. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you. I loved that. I loved how you just made me say that. This is about making sure that the universe goes in the direction that it's supposed to go, which is upward. Because that's the only way it can go. It's up. That's the only way to go. That's the only direction we're going in. We're only going up. It only goes up. And what Spirit is showing me is that when there's um it's like a wheel when there's like little divots or like when there's little like when there's something like wrong with the wheel. I'm not saying that what is happening is wrong, but I feel like collectively we know that there's something inherently holding us back. There's something inherently holding us back in some way. And we know this, we feel this. There's some sort of barrier to us fully stepping into something. We feel this because I feel it, and I know that other people feel it. And I can see how that is having an effect on us as a collective, just the way that we behave as a collective and the way that we interact with each other as a collective. We know this. And that's what Spirit is showing me is like, this isn't about us. That's what I was saying earlier, where it's not necessarily about us, it's about the bigger picture. It's about making sure that the wheels keep turning, baby. And what Spirit is saying is that the universe just knows exactly what to do. Like it's gonna do what it's gonna do. And so it's not necessarily about fear. It's not necessarily about like, oh, there's gonna be aliens coming in here and like taking us over. This is just about making sure that we keep progressing regardless of what is going on. The universe is going to do whatever it needs to do to make sure that we keep moving upward physically, mentally, and spiritually, mind, body, and spirit. I want to show you guys the reason why I am saying mind, body, and spirit is because I think it's good to like show you guys where exactly my intuitive hits are coming from. Like I don't want you guys to just to assume that like I'm just like saying stuff out of the blue. Although sometimes that does happen, but you know, I feel like that happens when I get like downloads, but I'm saying mind, body, and spirits because there's triangle in the center. And there's a square. I didn't even think about that. There's a circle. Oh, there's a circle, a square, and a triangle. So this is about alchemy. This is about alchemy. This is about turning lead into gold. Wow, this is such a beautiful reading, Spirit. Oh my gosh. I love this so much. I love this reading. I'm really obsessed. Again, I think it's very significant too. There's no like there's no negative energy in this reading at all. I'm not getting any negative energy from this reading. Like I'm actually feeling like very like I feel very clear and I feel very ecstatic is the word. And I feel very colorful and there's a lot of sun energy here, which is very, very, very beautiful. And I just thought of something like maybe the sun needed, I don't know, like did the sun need this to happen for some reason? I don't know. I don't know. But something just made me feel like, I don't know, I just got this interesting thought that came to mind that was like maybe the sun needed this for some reason as well. I don't know. I don't know. It's also, again, there's so many layers. But I feel like the sun needed this as well. Birth in terms of its own experience, and then in terms of supporting us, in terms of serving us. Because again, you have to think about it. There's a relationship that we have to the sun. The sun serves us in a very crucial way where it basically designates how our days are structured, right? Um, it works with time and it helps us, you know, work with time and it helps our crops grow. It feeds us, it helps us, you know, eat. It gives us energy, it gives us vitality, it tells us when to go, when to wake up, when to go to bed. Like, you know what I mean? It we have a relationship to the sun. And I'm like, the interaction that the Ray Atlas is having with the sun or had with the sun, I feel like there's a lot of layers here. And I just looked over and the sun card is literally on this, it's literally in this reading, which is so like crazy. And I want to make sure that I don't, oh, I want to make sure that I keep going with this reading because it's very beautiful. Um, but again, this is all about progression. Oh my God. Do you see how I was saying this object? They, you remember they were saying that the object was making a fan shape? I'm gonna pull this up because like now you guys are gonna see. Now you guys are gonna see like why I find this, like why I love this, um, like why I love this and why I think it's so significant, at least to me, and why I love serving you guys in this way because it's stuff like this where I'm like, it's just no way that you can make it up. um, okay. You remember how I said by late August 2025, The coma of 3I Atlas no longer appeared elongated toward the sun, and the comet had developed an anti-solar tail. However, the sun-facing plume is still present, as telescope images from 26 August 2025 showed that the inner coma of 3I Atlas appeared fan-shaped and slightly brighter on the sun-facing side. Appeared fan-shaped and slightly brighter on the sun-facing side. What does a fan look like? I'll show you. What is it called? Like a handheld fan? Yeah. What does a fan look like? I'll show you. This isn't the best depiction, but it said fan shaped. So there's like a circular thing happening in front of it, and there's like a circular thing happening behind it. That's what they're basically saying. And guess what's on this card? The exact same shape. You cannot make this up, you guys. You can't make it up. I feel like the Wheel of Fortune is significant here because guess what's also a wheel? The astrological wheel. There's also a wheel of astrology. And Pluto and Aquarius is significant here as well. Aquarius is also an air sign. You remember I was talking about air and how we like breathe in oxygen and emit CO2. And I was like, what if this object is breathing in, or I don't know, maybe this object is breathing in some sort of substance, maybe water. It depends on water in some way. And it's also exhibiting CO2. You know what I mean? Or secreting. I don't know the right word, but you get what I'm saying. Um, which is interesting. So yeah, it's gonna definitely gonna have an effect on all of us. Again, this is why is it happening? There's some sort of there's divine intervention and there's a divine inheritance that's due to us. And so it's gonna affect all of us for sure. But depending on where we are in our experience, both individual and collective, depends on how we receive, or depends on how this energy is coming in for us. Thank you, Spirit, for that. Thank you. Wheel of Fortune has a lot to do with time as well. I'm getting time here. And I feel like the fact that this comet is so old and we're interacting with it now, this is like this is before our solar system was even born. So this object has been out here just like way before our solar system was even born. So I have a feeling that it's going to be some sort of information or there's going to be some sort of reception, some sort of interaction, some sort of receiving of information about or exchange of information. And I feel like this is some cosmic level information. Which is pretty big. It's very, very, very big. Okay, I know this is long, so I want to get into what effect is this going to have on us? What effect is this going to have on us? This 3I Atlas phenomenon. And again, this came out at the bottom. This is about clarity, about a situation. The hangman in reverse. This is about moving on with clarity. This is about pulling yourself down and kind of moving forward with a sense of clarity. Thank you, Spirit. So, what effect is this going to have on the collective spirit? You gave us the Seven of Cups in reverse, Ten of Pentacles upright, the Sun in reverse, Three of Cups in reverse, and the Strength in reverse. Okay, so similar situation as this other spread. The only card that's upright is the Ten of Pentacles. This reading is so beautiful. Like, I'm gagged. Like, this reading is gorgeous. Okay, I'm sorry, Spirit. Thank you. Okay, so this is about family. This is about family, and I'm not gonna get corny. I'm not gonna get corny, I promise. But this is about the collective. This is about us as a collective. The Ten of Pentacles is about here, I'll even Google it. Like again, like I want to show you guys like I'm not just like pulling these things like out of, my you know what. What is the Ten of Pentacles? I'll just give you one explanation. I'm not gonna like show you all of them. Um, Ten of Pentacles is a tarot card that signifies long-term financial security, strong family bonds, and a legacy of generational wealth. It represents the culmination of a successful journey, a state of material abundance, and the importance of community and tradition. Upright meanings. Financial stability represents a long term secure financial foundation and abundance. Family and legacy symbolizes a strong family tradition and passing down of wealth and values to future generations. Community and home represents a strong sense of home, community, and being part of something larger than oneself. I'm going to read that again. Community and home represents a strong sense of home, community, and being a part of something larger than oneself. Completion signifies the successful end of a cycle. Signifies the successful end of a cycle, bringing a sense of fulfillment and a chance to celebrate achievements. Okay. I just Googled it. It's on Google. Google it right now. I'm not playing. Like, this is it. This reading is like literally like spelling it out for me right now. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Spirit. But that's what it is. The effect that this is gonna have, it's gonna bring us together. And guess what? This fan shape is back. This fan shape is back. And that just made me think maybe the fan shape again. Yes, it's fan shaped, but if you think about it, it's the shape of 10. It's the shape of the numeral block. It's the shape of the Roman numeral 10. When they were talking about the shape of the object in like the sun and stuff. It's literally the shape of 10 Roman numerals. So this is about completion. Wow. This is about completion, you guys. This is about inheritance. This is about divine intervention. And you know what this also is? You guys are going to be super gagged. You guys are going to be super gagged. I'm like almost like, oh my God, I need to text my friends like, guys, this reading that I'm doing right now. But guess what? I'm about to show you guys. You know what this also is? I don't think you guys are ready to see this. I really don't think you guys are. But I'm about to show you something. I'm about to show you something very, very, very interesting. Hold on. What does this look like? Can you guys see? What does that look like? It looks like the tree of life, doesn't it? I'm not making this up. This came out like in the reading. Like I have no reason to like make anything up or like be deceptive in any way. This is the card that came out. The Ten of Pentacles. And look, it even looks like pentacles. It even looks like that on this tree of life. Or on this sorry. This is the flower of life, but the tree of life is superimposed on the flower of life. This is literally, oops, sorry. This is literally the tree of life. I'm just gonna do a quick search of like what the tree of life means for you guys. I'm just gonna search what is the tree of life. And I know this is long, I'm sorry, but this is big. I'm just gonna search what is the tree of life, metaphysics. The tree of life is a metaphysical symbol representing the interconnectedness of all things, often depicted as a map of creation, consciousness, and the divine. It symbolizes life cycles, birth, growth, death, rebirth, the connection between the physical and spiritual worlds. You remember how I was saying mind, body, spirit? And you remember I was showing you the star card is here, the temperance card is here. And is it over here as well? No, but in the star and the temperance, both have their foot in the water and on the land, which represents physical and spiritual worlds. And various concepts like wisdom, strength, and spiritual union. Different traditions interpret it differently, with the Kabbalah viewing it as a diagram of 10 Sephirot, divine emanations, and Celtic tradition seeing it as a connection between heaven, earth, and the afterlife. Key metaphysical interpretations. Found in many mythologies, it represents a cosmic order connecting the heavens and the earth, the heavens, earth, and underworld. Path to spiritual union. In Kabbalistic tradition, it's a map of the soul's journey through the 10 Sephirot, which are divine attributes, and focusing on them is said to lead to a closer union with God. Connection to nature. The symbol emphasizes the natural cycles of life, growth, and renewal. Its structure also parallels human development. Roots in the earth, a trunk and branches reaching toward the sky. Map of consciousness. You remember what I said about Atlas? A collection of maps. Map of consciousness. Some traditions see it as a representation of human consciousness, with different parts of the tree corresponding to different mental, physical, and spiritual aspects of being. Alchemical process. In alchemy, it is sometimes called the philosopher's tree and symbolizes both the alchemist's mental growth and the alchemical process of transformation. Do you remember I said alchemy? I said that before we'd even got into this. Because of the square, the triangle, and the circle. Alchemy. Transmuting lead into gold. Balance and harmony. It can represent the balance between opposing forces such as judgment and mercy, or the harmony of the forces of nature. The judgment card is here. I also was talking about balance. Where was I talking about that at? I got that from the temperance card, I think is what when I mentioned it. I'll look back at it. It can represent the balance between opposing forces such as judgment and mercy, or the harmony of the forces of nature. Okay, judgment and harmony. Some people need some people need divine intervention, some people need divine inheritance. Both involves bringing some sort of harmony to the collective or to the lives of the collective, to the individual and collective life. Eternal life in the book of Genesis is a source of eternal life, though access is sometimes restricted. And in the book of Revelation, it reappears as a source of healing. This is all coming from the tree of life that I showed you guys. Let me go back to it. Sorry. And at this point, I don't care how I look right now. I just wanted like this is about the reading. So I'm like, whatever. I don't even care about angles or trying to like be all cute. Like this is real stuff. And this is information that I'm getting from the cards. So in a way, I guess I'm getting excited as well because it's showing you that I'm not just when I do readings, I don't just pull these things out of my, you know what, like this is actual insight that you can get um from doing tarot. And guess what? Tarot is also heavily, heavily, heavily influenced by Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. So it's very intertwined. It's very like I don't know. It almost makes me, it gives me goosebumps sometimes. But anyway, that's why I was pointing to this because this is the only thing that's upright in this. And again, this specific spread is for what impact, sorry, I'm taking this back off. What impact will this journey of Threat Atlas have on us as a collective? And so if this card is in here, and this card is about fulfillment and completion and um family and financial wealth and abundance. This is big. This is huge for us as a collective. This is huge. And remember how I was saying, it's interesting that the 10 is also in the Wheel of Fortune because it's also about this inheritance is not just about, oh, here you go, enjoy. This is about making sure that we evolve, that we continue evolving as a human race. This is about making sure that we go with the wheels of time and space and the cosmos. This isn't about us, it's about harmony. This is about balance. This is about cosmic law. This is about cosmic balance. It's not about, like personal, whatever we got going on personally. This is about everything, you know? That's what Spirit is saying. But anyway, yeah, the Ten of Pentacles came out upright. Um, and then what I'm getting from the Seven of Cups. Okay, yeah, so everything else is in reverse, okay? Everything else is in reverse. And what Spirit is showing me, oh my God. Oh my God, Spirit, thank you. What Spirit is showing me is this card is upright, meaning this is us, but the rest of these cards in reverse is represented as these energies coming from above, these energies coming from above down onto us, okay? So whatever these energies of these cards is here, this is energy that's coming from up above, okay? From what's happening above. This can be seen as directly, the interaction that Three Alice is having with the solar system, but this could also be seen as from the divine, from the metaphysical above, right? From the spiritual above. Okay. So what Spirit is saying here is that the influences of what's happening above is going to bring us this abundance on earth. And so, what exactly are these influences? What exactly is the energy of these higher influences, both physically and metaphysically? Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups in reverse is showing me the image of like it's gonna finally kind of blow away the fog from our eyes. It's finally gonna blow away the illusion, blow away the deception, blow away anything that has been clouding our perception and giving us the clarity that we need to bring us to where we need to go, to bring us back into harmony with the cosmos. Okay? That is so funny. Spirit just told me Spirit just told me like yes, like you're gonna receive like whatever you're gonna receive, but you still have to put in the work. So I think that's why it's also coming in energetically, where it's like, yes, you there might be this sort of like sudden insight or sudden information, but we still have to bring those ideas to life. We still have to put in the time and the effort and the work to bring whatever we receive into the physical manifestation so that we can enhance our physical experience, right? So spirit is saying like, yes, we're going to give you this, or this is coming in, but you still have to put in the work. Okay? This is about manifestation. This is about collective manifestation. Spirit is saying, like, yeah, you're still gonna have to put in the work. Like, we'll give you this, sure, but you still have to put in the time and the effort and the work to bring whatever visions you receive, whatever information you get. You're still gonna have to do the work and hire the people and build the infrastructure. Okay. The sun in reverse is showing me. You remember how I was saying, like, I was getting a lot of solar energy? The sun energy is here as well. Like, it's actually in the reading. And it's in reverse, which is basically showing us that this sun energy is coming down on us, is coming down into our collective energy. Okay. That's what I'm getting for the reverse card. It's some sort of divine influence happening. Okay. And again, this has a lot. You remember how I was asking, like, maybe like the sun needed this as well? I was like, maybe the sun requested this in some way, maybe not physically. Like, I'm not saying, oh, the sun like directly spoke to, this object and was like, oh, hey, come over here. We're gonna need it. But maybe there was some sort of, again, energetic signature or energetic communication, i.e. radiation, or I don't know, something metaphysical happening here where the sun was like, let's bring this in. I've been watching these people, I've been watching this solar system for so long, since the beginning of time. And, why don't we kind of call this object in to give us some information? It's also interesting too that I don't know. I have to look into how old the sun is, because I'm like, if this object is older than the solar system, then does that include the sun? How old is the sun? The sun is only 4.603 billion years old. So I'm like, okay, so is 3I Atlas older than the sun? It's crazy. You guys, this object is older than the sun. So I'm like, this object is wiser. This object has more information than our sun has. And the sun has been watching all the planets since the beginning. Do you see what I'm saying here? Like, ah, and my light just flickered. But the sun has been watching us since the beginning. This object all of a sudden is coming in. We don't know if it's like, again, in terms of the relationship that it's having this with the sun, it's taking in information, right? It's also giving information. The information is being received by the sun. We interact with the sun every single day. So those rays are coming, they're coming in. They're going somewhere. You know what I mean? That energy is being allocated somewhere. And also because we are receptive, I think Earth is naturally receptive to the sun, receptive to the cosmos, receptive to these other planets. Um, Physically and metaphysically, spiritually, as humans, by nature, by cosmic law, like energetically, there's going to be some sort of effect, right? And that's what Spirit is saying. Is like, there's something about the sun that this three-eye atlas was just so fascinated by, or just knew to interact with the sun in some way. And let me look up the etymology of perihelion. I didn't even think of that. Etymology of perihelion. Etymology, blah, blah, blah. Etymology of perihelion. Okay, it's just saying the point in the orbit of a planet, asteroid, or comet at which it is closest to the sun. Around sun. Peri around Helios sun. Around sun. Around sun. Around sun. Around sun. A round sun. I don't know. Um, yeah. There's definitely Leo energy here, so that's sun energy as well. Um, but yeah, so there's the sun in reverse. We also have Three of Cups in the string card clarified. So this is about strength and it's about third party. That is so funny. Do you see what I'm saying? There's us, the solar system, and then there's this third party. What is the third party? Three-Eye Atlas. What is included in Three-Eye Atlas? The number three. Mind, body, and spirit. Three. One, two, three. Three-Eye Atlas came in on Wednesday yesterday. That's Mercury Day, which rules the mind, the intellect, mental communication. So that's the mind. Sun, when you think about the sun, you think of spirit, you think of the vital energy force that activates us all. That's spirit. When you think of the body is earth. The body is, dang, I've been going at this forever. They're like, go to sleep. But the body is earth, mind, body, and spirit. There's three. Three of Cups. Cups energy. There's a Four of Cups energy here where it's like, okay, here's something else. So this is about, again, there, and then the strength here. There's some sort of nurturing quality that this Three-Eye Atlas has towards our solar system and towards the sun and towards us. There's a very nurturing quality here where I think by nature, and I don't even know if this thing is like a conscious object, but I think by nature, there's something about reality and there's something about the divine and how things operate within the divine where everything is love. And we may not perceive it that way, right? We may not perceive our experiences, certain experiences. We may not perceive all the challenges and the hurdles and the confusion and the deception and the illusions and all of this and all that. But we have to understand that it's all within God. It's all this act, it's all a part of an act from God. Everything that we do is God. Everything. From the chairs that we sit on, from the words that we speak, from the people that we love, from the water that we drink, from the heavens, from space, from all the planets, it's all God. It's all this one unifying force that operates within all things. Okay? That is the core thing that is coming through here, where regardless if we see it as an alien invasion, whatever, da 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 da, we're so quick to think that it's something that's here to like harm us or do something to us, da 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 da. It's all a part of this harmony, this invisible harmony of like of the raising of consciousness. And again, I feel like I'm being pointed to this oracle deck here because um vibrations have color and vibrations they have frequency, and it's all about raising, it's all about being raised, it's all about increasing or upward movement. So this is about lifting, right? This is about uplifting. Like guys, I don't even think you understand, like the only like quote unquote negative energy that I'm getting, I'm not even getting any negative energy from any of these cards. I'm not. Like, I'm not getting any like bickering stuff. I'm not getting any like I'm not getting any of that. So this object is not malevolent at all. Or the energy behind this object and it coming into our solar system is not malevolent at all. That's not what I'm getting. It's very knowledgeable, it's very old, it's very wise, it's very ancient, and it has so much information embedded in it. And now it's here in our system, in our solar system, and it's gonna have some sort of energetic effect on us. Even then, when you think of astrology, like there's transits that are happening right now. There's transits that are happening right now, and those transits are still happening and they still have an effect on our astrology of our experience, right? Of our astrological experience. And this object coming in, which has nothing to do with like our astrological, like our typical astrological transits, right? It's still interacting with these constellations. It's still interacting with the wheel of time. It's still interacting with our astrological wheel in some way, which is interesting. It's still transiting our energy in some way, which again is out of body. It's out of our wheelhouse, is what I just heard. It's out of our wheelhouse. And so I don't know if it's about understanding. I don't know if it's about logic. I don't know if it's about trying to logically probe into this experience, but maybe it's about approaching this experience from like love, of curiosity, being like, wow, like this object has personality. It has character development to it. It's old. It's extremely old. It's older than us, right? It had a parent and left its parent, right? It was created out of a star and it went on this long journey. It went on this long journey from a very far distance into our home. And it's foreign to us, and we're foreign to it, right? It's foreign to us, and we're foreign to it. I'm having a weird deja vu moment, which is very, very, very weird. Yeah, I just had a very weird deja vu moment. Um, yeah, this is very, 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 very interesting energy. And it's here. Like this energy is here for sure. Um, it's just so mind-boggling to me. I'm so sorry. Um, wow. But yeah, this object has personality. It has personality, and it's not. It just reminds me of like again, it's old. Like it's an old object. Like I just think of like an old grandma or grandpa or like an old relative just visiting by, just visiting, saying hello, saying hey to everybody, and then going home. That's the energy of this. Like it's very old, but like spiritually as well. Like it's a very ancient um energy, and it spent a lot more time with the divine than we have, right? Because it's been alive. It's been around longer than we have, okay? It's been around longer than the entire human race, the entire solar system. You see what I'm saying? Like billions and billions of years. Um, so this is about clarity. This is about nurturing. There's a nurturing energy there. This is about third party coming in and collaborating with us in some way, bringing us some sort of assistance or, um, so I'm looking at the time. Yeah, bringing some sort of assistance or clarity. Seven of Cups again, releasing the clouds from our eyes. I'm just getting a lot of unifying energy. It's really going to unify us. It's a strong unifying energy. Three is like three is three. I don't know the. I need to look into the numerology theory, but I know three is like a very significant. Um, the number three again associated with creativity, communication, and social skills. Ruled by the planet Jupiter, is often seen as the creative child, symbolizing expression, enthusiasm, and charismatic extroverted personality. Yeah. And with the hangman in reverse, I don't know. I feel like I'm getting this energy of like just again this clarity energy here. And so whereas before this event, we were kind of here just kind of waiting around for some sort of, spark of clarity, spark of um inspiration or trying to figure out where to go next. And now that we're here in this experience, it's like yeah, it's giving us, I don't know, the energy of this event is definitely giving us some sort of energetic, is definitely giving us something energetically, metaphysically, right? That's going to bring us to this state of clarity. And so this could be some sort of download, some sort of collective download. This can be, again, I have a strong vision. It has a lot to do with our minds and our consciousness for sure, and our awareness. Consciousness, awareness, ideas, it has a lot to do with that. And it has a lot to do with the sun and how the sun affects us energetically. And, you know, this is big. It's very big. I'm literally almost at 3 hours. I'm so sorry, you guys. But Spirit, sorry. To close this out, actually, I don't know. I'm going to ask for advice as well. Should I ask for advice? Yes. All right, Spirit, give us some advice. What advice do you have for us? I'm just going to move these over because my table is getting a little bit scattered. And then I can finally close this out and edit it and relax for the rest of the night. But this is such a beautiful reading, you guys. I'm very honored to be doing this reading. um Also, this isn't the typical energy that I'm in when I do a reading, right? I don't know if it's because I'm doing this at night or what, but I don't know. I just feel more energized and like less in like a peaceful state or like a tranquil state, but more so in like a energized state. So again, it's like reiterating that like I don't know, there's some spark that's happening here. And then you've got the gold energy, you've got the crown. There's a lot of heavy crown energy here. And you've got the star energy and pinnacles and stuff. Okay, advice, Spirit. What advice do you have? What advice would Three Eye Atlas give to us? What advice do you have for us, Spirit and Three Eye Atlas? I'm gonna shuffle one more time. What advice do you have for us, Spirit and Three Eye Atlas? Okay, I'm gonna split down the middle. I need to stretch after this. Gosh. Advice. Gorgeous. Okay. For advice, we have the Ace of Wands in reverse, the Emperor in reverse, and the Queen of Swords upright. And then this is clarified by the Eight of Cups um, reverse and the King of Cups upright. So immediately what I heard from this as the cards were coming out is don't act. Don't do anything stupid. Okay? Spirit is saying do not do anything stupid, okay? This has a lot to do with our relationship to the unknown and feeling as though we need is and acting on fear as opposed to acting on clarity, okay? Again, there's this energy about clarity versus non-clarity, and I feel like spirit is saying we're still in this energy of not quite having not quite feeling because again, their Alice is still going through its journey. It's still here, right? And it still has to go through, other areas of the solar system. So Spirit is saying, don't act right now. Now is not the time to act. I'll show you guys the cards. Now is not the time to act. You better sit down and just let it do its thing. You know what I mean? Sit down, let it do its thing. Don't do anything stupid. Don't don't do anything stupid, okay? And again, this is not about fear. Fear does not do anything, is what Spirit is saying. Fear does nothing to your experience, but make it harder. I'm going to say that again. Spirit is saying fear does nothing to your experience, but make it harder. That's all that fear does. Fear just makes the experience harder for you. um yeah, so don't act on fear. Don't act at all actually. Just allow whatever's happening to happen and energetically you're going to feel what this was all about. Okay. Queen of Swords is saying to approach this situation with love. So in terms of communication, like, there's scientists, I don't know if you're talking about this with friends, if you're in a science class or whatever, wherever you're watching this, whenever you're watching it, Spirit is telling us to talk about this or be in dialogue with it, but approach it from a place of loving curiosity, is what I just heard. Approach this from a place of loving curiosity and a place of having a place of a clear mind, not being so dogmatic about everything, not being so set in stone, actually embracing the fact that we don't know all the facts. And embracing the fact that, yes, these publications may give us certain information. They may say, like, oh, it's just this, but understanding, like, it's okay. Like, also understanding our own inner compass and what we know to be true and what we are still curious about. So not taking everything as truth, right? And kind of going with our own truth and actually being willing to put our own work in terms of getting information and getting an understanding of situation, right? Because again, I feel like right now we're in a situation where for some reason our um what word do I want to use? I feel like for some reason our colleagues, um, they tend to withhold information for some reason. Maybe that's out of fear, maybe that's out of, trying to prevent quote unquote chaos. I don't know. But I feel like, yeah, our global colleagues tend to withhold information. So this is about kind of looking at things from your perspective and not just taking things at face value and kind of looking into things on your own and doing your own research on things. I think that was the thing that I talked about earlier too, where it's like, yes, there's this information, but I also am like, okay, I understand that there's deeper layers to this stuff. Like, I'm not just gonna take things at face value and be like, oh yeah, it's just a comment XYZ when there's a whole lot of energy happening here, right? That's what Spirit is saying. Um, yeah, clarified by the Eight of Cups and King of Cups. Eight of Cups in reverse and the King of Cups. This is about, not being like, again, there's this energy of being like immediately jumping into some sort of pessimistic or negative view about what's happening, where it's like, oh, like, this is finally the end of the world. world, like the end of the world is here, the apocalypse, and da 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 da. When it's like, why is that the immediately thing we go to? Like, why do we like, why are we in such this energy of like, oh, we're just so terrible and bad and da 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 da. Like, yes, as a human race, we made so many mistakes and we continue to make a lot of mistakes, but we're young. I think, how old is the human race? How old is the human race? The human race is 300,000 years old, okay? The human race is only 300,000 years old. To the sun and to Three Eye Atlas, we're like infants. We're probably younger than infants. You know what I mean? Like we're still young, so of course, thank you. Of course we're gonna make mistakes. Of course we're going to collectively do really I hate to say this, do really dumb things as a collective and participate in really dumb activities and trivial activities. That's bound to happen, you know, as a young human race. And so Spirit is saying, like, we need to cut out this idea that, like, oh, we're just some like useless society and that we are not deserving of good things because of, you know, we just so happen to make mistakes and we're immature for our age. I mean, we're, you know, in an immature age. I don't know what our age, like in terms of the human race, I don't know how old we are compared to like when I don't know the relative like age we are as a human. Like let me actually look it up. What how old is the human race in human years compared to the sun? It's not really saying, but it's basically saying the human race is about 0.000067% of the sun's age. So basically, we're babies. That's basically what I'm saying. We're babies, so we need to give ourselves grace and stop being so like pessimistic and so negative about us as a human race. And this isn't to say like I'm not here to like say that I'm not susceptible to this. I have done the same thing as well. I'm like, oh, we're so like, why can't we just, you know, like why is it so hard for us to figure this out? You know what I mean? Like I've ran into that so many times before, but through this reading, Spirit is saying like we have to get rid of that mentality, get rid of that relationship that we have to each other, and just understand that we're young and that we still really don't have a lot figured out. And it's okay to not have a lot figured out. Like we're still very young as a human race. We're basically babies right now. And in terms of like the cosmos and understanding like the whole advancedness of everything, we're just not quite yet there yet. And this experience is here to help us and it's here to assist us in our development, in our evolution. Okay? The same way that we go through certain experiences individually that change our perception of the world, that change our state of consciousness, that change our experience. That's basically what's happening on a cosmic level, where this experience that we're having with throughout Atlas and all that kind of stuff, that's basically what it's doing. It's having an effect on our perception of ourselves as a collective in the world around us, in the cosmos, and what it all means, and the relationship that we have to everything and to God. Okay? And so this is about maturity. This is about maturity. This is about growth. This is about getting older. Okay? That's what I just heard. This is about getting older as a human race and you know, just because it's a little weird in how that manifests, right? Just because it's a little odd to look at things that way, you have to understand we are reflections of the cosmos. So, whatever. we experience, that's how the cosmos experiences it, and vice versa. How the cosmos experiences things, we also experience those things on a microscopic level, like relative to our, place in this world, in our experience, right? As humans. Okay. So Spirit is saying not F, but Spirit is saying like it's not about being fearful of stuff. Fear does nothing. Fear does nothing, is what Spirit is saying. Fear does absolutely nothing. And so I think that's another thing that this event is doing, or whatever is coming out of this, is going to rid ourselves of using fear to like allowing fear to dictate our experience, right? Allowing fear to have an effect on our experience. Because I feel like we've done so many things. The human race has operated on fear for so long, right? And we can see now how far that's gotten us, right? We see how far fear has gotten us, and it hasn't gotten us very far, okay? Spirit is saying that we're more advanced than that. We're more conscious of that, and that our souls understand that on a deep level. And I think this is also part of our soul. I think this is also part of our soul's journey as well, where it's like our souls understand that we're so much more as human beings, that it's like regardless if we're conscious of it as well, this is our souls doing as well, where it's like, okay, we came here at this specific time in this specific place so that we can evolve, so that we can learn and grow. Okay. Thank you, Spirit. So that's all I have. That's all I have. I'm gonna do one last, I don't know. Okay. I said I was gonna pull some oracle, like three oracle cards, and then that's it. I'm just gonna ask the cards to clarify using the three oracle cards, and then I'm gonna close this out. This is long. I've been sitting here for 3 hours, which is crazy. I've been talking for 3 hours. That is actually insane. Um, Spirit, I just want to say thank you for letting me do this reading. Like, this is actually such a beautiful reading. And again, I'm just really grateful that you have given me the ability to do readings. And I'm very grateful that this is an aspect of my life and I get to serve people in this way. Spirit, give us three. It just got very quiet. It just got oddly very quiet. Um, yeah, Spirit, give me three energetic Prism Oracle cards signifying the energy of this whole three eye atlas. I more so want to get the outcome. What's the energy of the outcome of this three eye atlas phenomenon, Spirit? What is the energy of the outcome? Wow, this is very strong energy. I got anger, death, and disruption. Okay. Anger, death, and disruption. Mm, yeah. Spirit is telling me that there's definitely going to be some anger here, but not Mm. Spirit is showing me the image of before we really see the true fruits of whatever is coming out of this, there is going to be a lot of anger, a lot of death, and a lot of destruction. Or there's just heavy themes of that. The anger, basically, okay, so let me start over. The anger, death, and disruption, it's all encompassing energy. What I'm getting here is that um this has sorry, this has a lot to do with I just heard something. This has a lot to do with just the veil being lifted. And think about like people or groups or colleagues who have benefited off of one way of living, off of a specific way of living, off of the way that we um, currently operate, right? Think about the people that benefit from this specific way of living, okay? And then think about what's to come out of this, right? So you have these people who benefit off of our, say, immaturity, who benefit off of our spiritual immaturity, our ignorance, our lack of knowledge, our lack of clarity that we went into before. There's people that benefit off of that, and there's people that willingly made the choice to exploit um, the fact that we are very immature, ignorant, um, young, and vulnerable spiritually at this present moment. And because of this experience, because of this natural cosmic event, and what it's going to do, what's coming in for us, it's really going to ruffle a little bit of feathers because, again, it's kind of going back to square one because these systems, they no longer work. These structures, these institutions, they no longer fit the mold. They no longer support um, they no longer will support us because of our elevated level of consciousness, because of our elevated level of perception and understanding of the world around us. Death. These structures are going to die. This way of viewing, the way of viewing the world, and it's so interesting that the eye is here because our way of viewing the world is going to die. It's going to completely disrupt. It's going to completely disrupt our perception of ourselves and our world. And it's going to completely kill um, this old version of ourselves. Thank you. It's going to completely kill this way of living. So it's not about physical death, even though physical death is inevitable. It's not about people like, all of a sudden like dying. This is about ego death, is what I'm hearing. This is about ego death, spiritual death. This is about death and rebirth. Okay? This is about an old version of ourselves dying and being reborn because of some sort of disruption. There's some sort of, and even then, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, this is our solar system, it moves around in this circle. And then all of a sudden, this object is coming in, and it's not even on like our typical way of like, it's not even on the ecliptic. It's not even moving the way that it typically does. It's disruption, it's disruptive. And how do like again, I think spirit is telling me like how I was talking about before, how we tend to like be so pessimistic and we say like, oh, it's aliens, da 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 da. This is our relationship to disruption. This is our relationship to disruption. So this object coming in, it's disruptive because it's like, what the heck is this? And what is it doing here? And why is it here? And what is it here for? Is it coming to take us? Is it coming to like do something to us? Da, 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 da. Is it coming to do X, Y, Z? This is our response to disruption. And I'm getting anger. It's about anger. It's about frustration. And I think um it's pointing me to that Four of Cups card too, where it's like the person is sitting there, it's out of dissatisfaction. There's some sort of dissatisfaction here, where it's like deep down we're dissatisfied with our experience. And so it's like deep down we kind of want something to come out of this. We kind of want something to disrupt our experience because we know deep down that there's so much more. We just don't know how to respond or react, like properly express that. You know what I mean? Because again, our perception is limited. We only look at things from a physical point of view. But again, I'm telling you guys, something is here to disrupt. Something is here to disrupt, and it has a lot to do with shedding of the skin, it has a lot to do with some part of us dying as a collective. And again, I always say I love the death card because death is death. Like, death is inevitable, and death is so beautiful. I think before I even stepped into, I don't really tell this story often, but before I stepped into this life path or vocation, I went through what can be described as an ego death of some sort. I'm not saying that my ego is completely gone. I don't really believe that the ego ever fully goes away because it's part of our, it's part of our makeup, right? It's still within us. But I've learned to work with my ego. I've learned to um mold my ego, to shape my ego. And instead of allowing myself to be influenced by my ego, I'm the one influencing my ego and allowing my ego to shape my reality. And I'm allowing, those hidden aspects, those dark aspects of my ego to come up so that I can work on them and heal from them. So there's a lot of healing energy here. There's a lot of shedding of skin energy here. There's a lot of allowing things to just die, allowing those leaves to just die and fall off so that we can grow, so that our branches can grow. Again, you remember I was showing you guys the tree of life. This is a tree. This is a tree of life. The branches don't hold on for dear life to their leaves. The leaves just grow and they get old and they die and they get wrinkly and they fall. They have to die. That's part of life. Things have to fall, things have to change, things have to evolve. Things have to shed so that we can grow and evolve and be turned into something beautiful. I actually have two butterfly tattoos because again, this experience is I feel like it's so close to home where I feel like I've experienced firsthand what the experience of like transformation really is like. And I always tell people, I'm like, when you truly embrace death, when you truly embrace change and being open to being changed and being open to becoming different and becoming like tapping into your higher self, when you embrace that, you just allow yourself to dissolve completely, and you turn and like you just witness yourself transform and turn into something beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful evolution. It's like one of the most beautiful experiences because you're experiencing it directly. It's something that's happening like not just inside of you, but physically and mentally and spiritually. Like it's an all encompassing, like just blossoming into something so beautiful. And so this is about embracing it. And yes, there might be some frustration and some anger and some resistance, but it's about embracing that too and being like, you know what? It is what it is. It's gonna happen. It's gonna do what it's gonna do what it's gonna do. I think that's also what Spirit is showing us here, where we're dealing with the comet, right? We're dealing with something that just flew in. We don't know where it came from. We can't really do much about it because it's not coming near us. It's not coming near us at all. So we can't really do anything. We can just observe it. And so this has a lot to do with us observing ourselves as well and observing the change that is happening in our lives individually and collectively. And instead of, being resistant to it and instead of trying to hold on to things and trying to control things all the time. This is about us just letting go and allowing life to just like happen and stop trying to like control everything, you know? Stop being so angry. I think like we truly live on anger nowadays, at least in this current experience. Like I feel like energetically, I just feel the collective anger and I can just feel that like there again, there's colleagues in our lives, individually and collectively, that feed off of that anger and that benefit off of our limited perception and our immaturity and our ignorance, right? There's colleagues out there that feed on that. And they're not going to respond very well once we kind of wake up to the way that, things have been run and we start to, basically enact change and evolution and innovation into our lives and self sovereignty. So yeah, it's disruptive. Yeah, it's disrupting our experience, but it's for a reason, and it's for our own collective benefit. Um, so that's all that I have. I hope that that was um helpful. I love you guys. I know that it was a very long reading, but I feel like I got a lot out, and I feel like the reading was it went so beautiful, and I'm so grateful that I was able to do this reading and that I like the energy came out so smoothly. I didn't have any difficulty reading anything, which I'm really grateful for. And I don't know, I just feel really calm and excited and very optimistic. And I don't feel any negative energy at all. I don't feel any heavy energy at all, which is significant. So that's all I have, you guys. I think it's a very beautiful lesson, a very beautiful mirror placed in front of us. And it's just about being open and embracing and really understanding like okay, what is our actual relationship to each other as a planet, as a society, as a part, like being a part of the rich tapestry of the universe, you know. I think we forget that sometimes. We're part of the universe. We are a part of this whole structure. um Without us, there would be no universe. I feel like the universe is the universe because we're here, because the planets are here. Everything that is in the universe makes up the universe. And so everything has a significant place where it is doing its very specific thing, um, with a very specific purpose and mission and in whatever this is, right? So that's what I want us to remember. And I feel like that's what the reading wanted us to tap into. And I'm just really excited for what's to come out of Three Eye Atlas. And I hope you guys are too. I want to wish you guys a happy Halloween Eve. And yeah, I hope you guys stay safe. I love you guys. And yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, love you. Bye.